What is good, ladies and gentlemen? What is good? I am your host, Cheats, and this is the Black Baseball Mixtape Podcast. It is Monday night, so you know what that means. The crew is in the building, and there's a lot to talk about. Hold on. Just like last week, the crew's in the building, sans one. Right, Flobo? Right,
Yeah,
Flobo?
it's true.
Crew's
Where's
in the
Malik?
building, sans one. We are still Butterman Kane is still celebrating his birthday.
Whoa.
Still going. Still birthday.
Respect.
Still birthday month.
He's doing it
Wow.
the
So
right
he is
way.
not here, but we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the way that this is coming down to the wire and the playoff races in Major League Baseball, as we are really, really locked down into some really good stuff, both in the American League wild card and now in the National League wild card is getting really interesting. The American League West is flip flopping just about every day. Looks like some room is being kind of hashed out in the National League West, but we also have our first team, the Phillies, to clinch a spot in the playoffs. So there's a lot to talk about there. There's even more to talk about when we talk about things like the return of the home run and what these numbers are meaning, and records are being broken this time of year. We also there's some interesting things going on in the league today. By the way, is Roberto Clemente Day all throughout Major League Baseball. They did announce the nominations, kind of the team award for the Roberto Clemente award. So we'll talk about a lot of things before we do, and before we bring in our crew, we've always got to handle our business, which means we got to thank our partners, the Players Alliance, Numbers Game Scorecards, Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds, and Minority Prospects, our good friends over at Minority Prospects. You can join us in this conversation every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are live on Instagram and also live on YouTube. I think we're actually live on Facebook as well.
We are.
I don't think most people know we have a Black Baseball Mixtape Facebook page, but it is there, and you can see it and comment. All right, I've taken care of that stuff. I cannot wait to bring in our people. I got to start with the man himself. He is wearing a New York Mets City Connect hat.
Always.
Flobo
Always.
Boyce is in the building. Lots of ups and downs. Flobo, how you feeling?
Man, a lot of downs and ups, man. It's LGM to the bitter end, but it was pretty close this week. But back from the brink, I'm feeling okay. I'm one finger down, but I'm
First of
good.
all, are we back from the brink? You said back from the brink. Out of the last 9 games, you've won one of them.
The last one. And that's what you need, baby. A
Okay.
nugget of positivity,
Okay.
baby.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're positive. We're gonna come back, and we're definitely gonna talk about the Mets. We're gonna come back and definitely
All right.
talk about where we are with the Mets and in this wild card. But before we do, she's rocking an LA Dodgers black dad hat, if you will. My wife Aria loves the dad hats as well. All about April. 10th inning talk. How we feeling?
I am feeling great today. I actually wore this to school today and I got quite a few compliments, just saying. So, in honor of the Dodgers actually winning a series, especially against our actual rival, I had to show up today and put a hat on.
And so, for those who haven't been paying attention, we've had a running dialogue here about the Dodgers and their rivalries. But April stands firm that the Giants are the biggest rivalry with the Dodgers. It is not the Padres. So this is what you're
For
contending
now.
here. You're
And
standing on
I'm
this.
actually surprised that y'all don't know that the Giants are the biggest rival of the Dodgers. That
For
is like a
now.
long-standing thing.
Until realignment happens.
Eh, eh. So look, guys, welcome. So much to talk about, and I am going to start with the National League wild card because this is something that I don't think we saw happening in this way. We did not see, I do not believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I did not see a complete free fall the second half of the season from the New York Mets. So as the wild card stands right now, the Mets do have that final slot in the wild card. They have a 1.5 game lead over, if of all teams, the Giants, who I would say when we really started looking at this a few weeks ago, they were not really in the conversation.
Right.
The Giants weren't there. The Diamondbacks definitely were not there. The
Right.
Diamondbacks were selling at the deadline.
Right.
The Diamondbacks were definitely not there. The Reds were there, and I feel like the Reds have just constantly played themselves out of a chance at the playoffs. Like, they're playing themselves out. And I'm starting to wonder, because I'm hearing a lot of talk on social media, if their manager is managing them out of the playoffs as well. And we all know how we feel about Terry, but there's some stuff going on with the management and the decisions being made in Cincinnati. Flobo, I want to start with you. Obviously, let's start with the Mets.
Oh, you start with the Mets? Let's go.
2-8 out of their last 10. They were on a 8-game losing. They were actually finding ways to lose.
There was it was their third 7+ losing streak of the season. Let's call it what it is. Yeah.
And they were finding creative ways. The Mets were finding creative ways to lose. They snap out of it with a Pete Alonso walk-off yesterday, right? Get their first win in 9 games. What is so we talked about this earlier in the year, and I already told you, like, and rightfully so, my panic level with the Orioles at like week 3 was like, I'm lighting my house on fire panic level. Where are
really? Because you found ways to bring them up every week. Like, they had a chance. Because he was like, I don't know, man.
I can still do that. But what is your panic level as it's currently constructed right now with the Mets 1.5 up out of the wild card?
It's an odd thing, the panic level in New York, because if you go on Mets Twitter, it's panic level every single day, and it's the worst thing ever. I've been part of the 2007 collapse and the 2008 collapse, and that was hard to watch. I remember, much like this season, ending our season with the Marlins and having them eliminated from the playoff contention. The fact that there's still a chance after losing so many games should probably tell you the kind of lead they had at first. And the problems that they're having now was their strength before. Everyone kind of written off their pitching on paper. It delivered the first half of the season, and then Canning went down, and then Peterson wasn't the ace we thought anymore. Senga was ineffective, and then all the replacement players came in and could not get out of the 5th inning, and that just became a thing, stressing the bullpen. And so they brought up the 3 kids. And if you ask my opinion as to why I'm so hyped after 1 win after 9 days of baseball, because it was on Saturday night when the Mets lost the game with Jonah Tong on the mound, and Jonah Tong was supposed to be this like talismanic rookie. He's not McLean, but he's up there, and he was distraught. You know, he got
he had an amazing debut, debut.
I was there,
and then this last game did not make it out of the 1st inning, right?
Yeah, 2/3 of an inning to the Rangers, by the way.
Yeah,
against DeGrom. So it was King Tong against DeGrom, and it really wasn't a contest. And he was distraught. In fact, to the point where I thought they're going to send him down. And I really felt like that kind of galvanized the guys, because on the next day it was almost like a different team. So I'm not relaxed. I do think all it takes is 2 losses to change everything for New York. But the fact they're still in the contest and they're getting beat down for as long as they have, I mean, it's now or never. And it could be the most exciting run for them, much like last year was.
Do you put a number on it? If I had to ask you a number out of 10, what would your panic level be right now for the Mets?
For me personally, it's a 7. Because
that's still really high.
It is, because I'm not naive, right? Like, I try to be a positive guy, but I'm not naive. Expectations were high. Whatever happens with Juan Soto, if you don't win the championship, you're going to get dragged. It's law of Mets, quote unquote. Mets are going to Met, and that's the reason why it's a panic level for me. But if the Mets somehow crash out, it would be a failure of a season, sure. But they've already advanced so much from their scouting. They've advanced so much in an organizational structure, you can't call it a complete loss. Now, you listen to New York radio, run Stearns out of town, run Mendoza out of town. But no, where we were last year with that Grimace run, we're actually considered a legitimate contender, give or take a couple losing streaks. That's something that wasn't even on the table 2 years ago.
Right.
April, same question to you. You're looking at the Mets. They are, would you say, is their third 8+ game losing streak.
Third 7+ game. They had 2
7+
sevens
game
and the 8.
losing streak. It seems to have been coming at a awful time to come. What is your panic level and thoughts on the Mets, and what are their chances of holding on to this last playoff spot?
So my panic level was actually a 7-8 from myself.
Mhm.
And this has more so to do, I'm looking at their schedule right now. So they start off a series against the Padres tomorrow. They have the Nats, and then they have the Cubs. And it's just kind of like, and then they have the Marlins. And being that those are intra rivals, what is that actually going to mean? Are they going to play them competitively with the hopes that they can actually knock them out? And are the Mets really going to show up in the way that they did last year as well? So it's up to them to decide how this is going to go. However, yeah, my panic level is definitely high for them because we haven't really seen a level of consistency with them. And typically you see some teams kind of turn it on where you're like, oh, they might be able to do it. I don't really see it with anybody right now where you have that comfort level. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't really see it for them right now. I don't know if they're gonna make it, y'all. I don't know. I'm sorry, friend.
Well, here's the thing. A couple episodes ago, I said the Mets were definitely not making it.
You
And
did.
I said the reason they weren't going to make it is because of the Cincinnati Reds. I will tell you this. I have more confidence right now in the Mets than I do in the Cincinnati Reds overtaking the Mets in the wild card. That's right. I'm just saying. The Reds have had every opportunity to, they had all the time in the world to play themselves back into contention and even grab a hold of this wild card. And you know what's happened? The Giants are the team that has really taken advantage of the Giants and the Diamondbacks are the teams that have taken advantage of this opportunity that the Mets is laying bare here. I'm more convinced now that the Mets hold on to this slot. I don't.
Okay.
If it's not the Mets, it's going to be the Giants. I still don't know if the Diamondbacks just have enough consistency to go through it. But the Giants, I think, do. And the Giants just announced today that they're bringing up their top prospect, Bryce Eldridge, who I've seen play in Richmond. And if he's, on that trajectory and is half as good as I think he can be, he's a lefty bat that they could put pinch hitting wise. You know what I mean? They could use some things. This is the time of year with roster construction that they could be a little bit creative and have a very young, very powerful lefty bat coming in every once in a while to do some damage.
Ugly number, by the way. One of the ugliest numbers I've ever seen. He's wearing number 78. Like, what?
Hey, man.
What
He's
is
there.
that?
He's there. I don't know. With that said, I don't know what the injury report is on Hunter Green because Hunter Green got hit in the leg with a baseball. Talk about awful luck. Hit in the leg with a baseball during his last start and pulled out of the game. They did activate Chase Burns off of the injured list. However, I don't know if you've been following. Chase Burns is going to the bullpen. He is not going to be back in that starting rotation. So there's a lot going on in Cincinnati as well. I have not been following the Diamondbacks at all. I just looked up and I was kind of surprised that they are 2 games back from taking the Mets slot.
But to be fair, they're at 500. That's why you weren't looking at them.
Yeah,
it wasn't like they went like a 30-game winning streak. Yeah.
No, I hadn't been looking at them.
Yeah.
With all of that, Flobo, if there's a team in your mind that catches the Mets, who is it?
I mean, I think the Giants would be a lot more of a sexier answer, right? The NL West, the NL West, and having that team come back, Buster Posey, culture of that. But the Arizona Diamondbacks, for whether their credit or discredit, are like the kind of scrappy teams that you really cannot deny. Like it's small ball when small ball is not really in fashion in other markets, and a lot of things are kind of manufactured runs. And so I would say, yeah, and not just because I was like the Snakes guy 2 years ago. It's just the way that that team is built and the way they score their runs. To me, would be a much more of a logical choice. They're more likely to go on a run than San Francisco. Though I will imagine that if San Francisco made the playoff, that's a lot prettier picture for playoff graphics and all that jazz.
I think I like the Giants pitching better. Logan Webb, Justin Verlander. Um, I just think I think the Giants, if they can sneak in, can do some scary things. April, who do you think if the Mets give this thing away? Who do you think is more likely to take that last wild card spot in the National League?
So let me say that the Giants actually play the Diamondbacks beginning tonight. They start a new series with them. And then the Giants play us, the Dodgers, again. And then they play the Cards and the Rockies. Based on that particular schedule, I think that the Giants may be able to pull something out if they can remain a little bit consistent against the Diamondbacks, Cards, and the Rockies. And y'all know the Dodgers. I mean, we're getting healthy. We're healthy, so we're looking a little strong. But it, I think they may be able to pull it off based on their schedule. It all depends on how, for me, how will this Diamondbacks Giants schedule go?
Oh, yeah. In all seriousness, the Diamondback schedule is like unfair to them. They got what, San
Yes.
Francisco, then Philadelphia, LA,
Then
and
the
San
San
Diego.
Diego.
Ain't no way. That
Right.
is a gauntlet.
I didn't say anything about them because I was like, their schedule is brutal towards
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, but they got to play it out. They've got to play it out. You alluded to this a little bit earlier, Flobo. If this thing goes awry, there's a lot of talk, obviously, and there's been a lot of talk all season about Juan Soto. If this thing goes awry, the only thing I can tell anybody with a half a baseball brain and half a pulse is that you cannot blame Juan Soto about this at any cost. Like Juan Soto right now on this team is like Shoeless Joe Jackson in the 1919 like 1919 World Series. He's the only guy on this team
That's
day in and day out that's consistently he is consistently playing well.
That's not true.
Tell me how it's not.
Because if you look at the score lines, I gotta be honest with you. I know I'm a Mets guy, but if you look at the score lines, it's not like the whole team is inept and this guy. That's why it's so frustrating this season. It isn't like last year or 2 seasons ago, 23, where everyone stopped coming to work. The top half of the lineup scores. The bottom half scores. The only problem is that no one can get past third base. There's a wall there, and the pitching collapses in the 4th inning. So if you look at Pete Alonso's numbers, he's broken records. Yeah, Lindor's on a down season defensively, but he's also contributing. Mark Vientos found his form again. Juan Soto is going to get dragged no matter where he goes because 3 teams paid him or offered $700 million, and the Dodgers offered them $660 million. So this is why it sucks. It's like the team is good. It's just that no pitcher who touches the mound can go past 4.2.
April, Juan Soto right now has 40 home runs, 32 stolen bases. He's batting 262, 279 total bases. I don't know what people are looking for from Juan Soto, but it seems like he's delivering everything you can ask for.
Where is he batting in the lineup?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
And how does that impact the game? Because it's one thing for you to look at the numbers, but are his numbers impacting the other players on the team if and when they make it onto base? Or is this just like an individual performance? I will say out of all of those numbers, the most impressive thing for me from him are the stolen bases. That was not something that I saw.
Here's the thing. Juan Soto by far has he doesn't have like the top everything for the Mets, but I'll tell you what he does have. He has the top WAR, which is 5.8 wins above replacement, and he is by far the next closest guy, and rightfully so. Lindor, who you mentioned, Flobo, is at 4.5, but Pete Alonso technically leads the team in RBIs, and I want to say total bases. His
Yeah,
WAR is Alonso's WAR is 2.9. I
yeah.
mean, again,
Uh, I think Alonso is second in RBIs behind Schwarber and above Cal Raleigh, if my
yeah.
memory
But
serves.
again, his WAR is 2.9 and Soto's just 5.8.
So, to Soto's credit or discredit, he does get some base hit his home runs, but he bats second. So he kind of got a bit of a notoriety this season as becoming Juan Solo. Most of his home runs were
Right.
solo jacks.
Mhm.
But the thing about Juan Soto, and this is like from last year off season, because he spurned the Yankees, there was always going to be a can you do better? And the fact that it was a team that's always not as good as the Yankees, he's going to get dragged for everything he does wrong. I can't let him defend this guy, but he contributes. I can't knock him. Even when the team is doing nothing, he finds a way to get on base.
Yeah, I mean, again, from the outside looking in, and I watch the Mets. I don't watch the Mets every day, but I do watch the Mets, and I do every time I watch the Mets. It just seems like Soto to me this season was like an engine, one of those engines that we're gonna get going, we're gonna get going, we're gonna get going. It's to me, he's constantly been performing well. It's just it didn't feel like at like it's just consistently good. Is that a way to say it? Like because the team is having all of these struggles. It's not like you're looking at Juan Soto and being like he's on you know a Otani or even a Judge or a Kyle Riley type tour like tear for
Right.
like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But you just look at it and you're like he's consistently good all the time.
Yeah, I do think a lot of that was propaganda, the loss of aura. But he did have a slow start. I think the April and the first week of May wasn't good. Neither was Lindor, but the team itself was finding a way to buoy things. But I bring this up as an example. I know I talk about this a lot on the show, and I apologize. But there really
Yep.
is an anti-Mets bias because it's fun. It's fun to have a team in a big market who hasn't achieved. It would have been the Angels, but they're kind of like sad because they never threatened anything. And I really feel like a lot has to do with that. So you have someone like Juan Soto who starts off cold. It's like, well, you see, it wasn't as good as last year. And now he literally proved that he is. And
Yeah,
you have to
he is.
tell people, hey, look, this guy's like better than he was last season.
He is. Now, I mean, that's going to exist. I agree with it. What you're saying, but I mean, I believe it was like last episode. I was like, yeah, I looked at it, and it was like it wasn't that far off from where the Yankees were. This last 8-game losing streak, though, does like since we've gotten back together, they've
Yeah.
barely won a game, and even
Right.
I'm looking at this like, geez, the Mets are finding ways to lose.
Right. And let me also ask too, is this an anti-Mets bias thing or is this an anti-Juan Soto thing? Because I
It's
feel like
both.
more people like the Mets than they like Juan Soto as
Oh, that's a good
individual
question.
player.
That's a good question. Do you think more people like the Mets than Juan? What like are they hand in hand at this point, or is it like do people not like Juan Soto and like the Mets? They like how does that work? Because that's a
I
good question, April.
because I some people have an issue with how he left the Yankees, why he left the Yankees, and the fact that he took the money, as some people would say. And I don't think that enough people celebrate the fact that athletes have a choice in their careers to be able to do what they need to do. But the way that people celebrated the Mets last year, the whole grimace thing, the way that they were winning towards the end, I don't see that same celebration and support this year as I saw last year. And I'm just wondering if that's coming from a bias towards
You know what? What you
versus that.
what you're describing, I think, is different. And
Okay, sorry.
what I mean by that is last year they were kind of cute, Flobo. The Mets
They were
were
cute.
the Mets were like the engine that could. They're doing all these
They were
quirky
cute.
things.
I
They're
hated that, but yeah.
they're getting their wins and getting into the playoffs type thing. This year is completely different. They're not the evil empire of the Yankees, but Big Daddy Cohen broke out the checkbook, and they might as well be closer to that than they've ever been before in their lives. So I do think what we're seeing now is a different level of you're no longer the cute team that that's doing quirky things and we're excited. This is a team built on paper and paid for to win baseball games. And they went out and got the biggest gun they could get from across from across the street, if you will, and put him in this lineup. And I just think what you're seeing a lot of it is, you know, the expectations of what happens when you're expected to win. Like I think that's some of it too. I don't think that I mean, yeah, they're judged differently in New York City and they're judged differently across the country. But this is the closest Mets version to the Yankees because of Cohen and his dollars that people now again, I don't know if I don't think there's like a national backlash against the Mets. I just think they're judged differently. I just think they're judged differently. I don't think there's a like we hate the Mets because they're spending all this money. I just think that there is definitely a level of expectation that this team should not be, and even in this position, this team should not be out of the NL East race with the Phillies running away with it, and they should not be holding on to this last wild card spot. They should be well above and beyond where they are, and I think people are starting to feel that panic set in.
I think it's a bit of both, to answer your question, April. I think there's a part of Juan Soto where when he was in pinstripes, he kind of saw that he was going to be there, being part of an institution, carrying the torch. Now, the Mets, even though they are 60 years old, they're still kind of like the expansion era team. They're kind of young. Not as young as the Marlins, which ironically has the same amount of championships. So when he chose the Mets, and you would have gotten some of that with Boston, but not as much because Boston has a history for it.
Oh, no. It would have been equally the same. Or worse.
All right. Well, we can discuss that. I feel that it was part of him making the move and spurring the Yankees more than anything else. But then you have this franchise where Cohen is on year 5 of his 5-year plan to win a championship. He may not even do it. But as far as like this year is different, it wasn't. Because when they had Scherzer and Verlander and the end of DeGrom, the expectations were there. When they got Buck Showalter, they got 101 games, the expectations were there. And what happened when, what's his name, Cronenworth, what's his name, Musgrove and his oily ears eliminated them with this, it was like, oh, what now? You had the highest payroll, you couldn't get it done. When you had the selling, it was, I can't believe they broke this down in the middle of the season. So last year's thing, I know people say it's cute, we rooted for them. But what I saw, and maybe because I am biased, because I'm in too deep, was kind of this dismissive nature of it. Like, oh, it's a gimmick. Glizzy Iggy and the Rally Pimp and Grimace. And when the Dodgers eliminated the Mets, front page news at the Fox MLB page was Ohtani, a fake Ohtani, with boxing gloves punching out Grimace because it was a fun thing to say, the Savannah Bananas. So I do think expectations are different. It's a little bit more serious this year. But at the same time, it's a lot more fun when you have this big market New York team who has historically underachieved is finding themselves once again in a situation they put themselves in. That's entertainment. That's what you make bylines about.
Yeah, I mean, look, just to put a bow on this, I think there's a level of what you're saying, especially about some of those really good Mets teams of recent years. Like you're talking about the Scherzer teams and the Verlander, teams that were expected to do better than they ultimately did, right? But I just feel, I mean, again, just from the outside looking in, and maybe it's because I'm farther removed from it, but Cohen coming in, them signing Soto, them re-signing Pete Alonso, because that was a big deal. Like, we don't want to overlook that. Because that was the whole point of contention and all of that stuff. Them coming in with some of the players that they thought would be ready for prime time based off of last year's playoff run.
Mullins.
Whether it was whether it was Vientos or who's the catcher?
Alvarez,
Beatty. I mean, I just felt as if I kept hearing that this is different than even those recent years because of the stuff that they were doing. Now, does it feel very different right now? I don't know. Like it feels a little bit different because it feels like it's earlier, right? It's like they're not in the playoffs and it's going. So this is feeling a little bit different. I will say this. I struggle, and this actually came up on Part in the Interruption today. So shout out to the OGs, Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser. But it came up today how bad Cedric Mullins is struggling and how challenging the situation for Mullins has been since the trade deadline and coming over to the Mets. And it has been bad. I'm a unapologetic, huge Cedric Mullins fan. And this part of baseball right now for him and for people that root for him is truly painful. So hopefully we get center field. Hopefully you guys get center field squared away.
Man, that
Um,
needs yeah.
let's move on. Let's move on because I really want to bring up, and we won't belabor this or harp on this, but I guess congratulations is in order to the Philadelphia Phillies. They did clinch. They are in the playoffs. Their magic number was down to 1 as of the beginning of today. They've got a 12-game lead in the East. Even without Zach Wheeler, they seem to be moving along. Their pitching seems to be very strong still. And the Phillies just keep winning games. It's only a matter of time before like the Tigers and the Brewers, they all get to this spot. One division that's going to go absolutely down to the wire, and we've been watching this thing ping pong for quite a bit, is the AL West. As it stands right now, and the Rangers are 3 games back. They are playing the Astros tonight. The Astros are 1 game back, and the Seattle Mariners now have the lead. April, I've been talking about this all. I mean, I've been talking about this for at least since the trade deadline because I thought the Mariners won the trade deadline. The
You did.
Mariners to me are a very, very scary team. They are
Yes.
proving to be a real team, and they have been proven to be kind of keeping up in spite of us thinking or me thinking they've got to like go down somehow, some way. As it currently stands right now, do you think the Mariners, who have won 9 games in a row, do you think they kind of move away and run away with this division for the next month and kind of put the Astros, who are still in the wild card right now? Do you think they put them in the back burner?
Well, they end the season against us, and that is in Seattle. They play the Rockies before then, and of
Yep.
course, they will be in Houston this weekend. So, honestly, I I really believe that the Mariners, it's up to the Mariners and how this is going to go. And y'all already know I said I don't know if I have the confidence or the faith in them because they haven't really shown me that they are a championship caliber or a team that is used to winning
Whoa.
at that particular level. However, I will say that there is a little bit of a shift in me that believes that they may be able to pull it off this year and take the division. And a lot of this has to do with number one, the Astros having injuries, the Astros having some pitching struggles. Yes, I know the Rangers are right behind them, but look, I'm focusing on the Mariners right now. What they're doing is absolutely incredible, and it seems as if they're just focused on what a goal that they have set. The Mariners also seem like they're one of those teams who have listened to the voices out there, and they like it's probably something that's playing in the background in their locker room as a sense of motivation. So yeah, I think that the Mariners can actually do it based on this particular schedule if they can keep it up. But man, doing they have the Royals tonight,
Yeah, I was
tomorrow.
just I do have a correction because I said they were playing the Astros. The Astros are playing the Rangers.
Yeah.
The Mariners play tomorrow night. So go ahead.
So they're playing the Royals beginning tomorrow, then the Astros. But it's a pretty tough schedule. I do like the fact that they always have them playing the Astros towards the end of the season because it gives that intra kind of rivalry thing, especially being that the Mariners and the Astros have been pushing it to the very end the past few seasons. So I'm gonna go with a yes. I see them doing something. A little bit.
What? Wait.
Flobo on mute. What's he doing? I'm waiting for Flobo.
I'm confused because you're like, oh, I don't really see them on a certain level. I don't
No,
know. They
I'm
are
saying
kind of
that
impressed me,
I
but now I'm like,
initially didn't, but right now I'm kind of like, they might do it. But then I look at the schedule and I'm like, I don't know, y'all.
that's the least confident I believe in you ever.
That's
You know,
you know what? That is a perfect way to describe.
you can do it. I don't know. I feel like Seattle and Milwaukee, it will be the likable World Series if that would be the case, right? They have two causes everyone wants to root for. I like the idea of it, but the win streak is cool, but that's not sustainable. Let's call a spade a spade. If they clinch the AL West, feather in the caps, ain't no way you're gonna do that plus playoffs. So let's. I mean, I like Houston as far as not a team. I mean, I'm neutral with them a team, but I like them as a prospect of winning it all. I think this is them just like easing into or tapering their set into the playoff run, and it's going to be a whole different level of Astros baseball. So my answer is no.
Your answer is no. Again, I am personally on a roll today of eras. So like if what's the old stat man that's like just like what did we mess up at the end of the show at the end of
The
PTI?
corrections.
So I'm gonna do that in the middle because the Brewers are in. They were the first team to clinch. So the Brewers are in. They clinched. The Phillies are in. They've clinched. Okay. Just letting you know. Now to get back to the subject at hand. I don't think the Mariners, given who they have to play, I
Mhm.
don't think they're going to maintain obviously just winning every game like they've
Right.
been winning.
I
But I
agree.
do think they can win all of their series. I do. I think they can win all of the series they play. Uh, the Royals, the Astros, the Rockies, and the Dodgers. I think again that they don't again they're not going to win every game, but I do think they can win every
Enough.
series, and I think they're going to have to. I think
Mhm.
they're going to have to really play well, but I think they are playing well, and I love absolutely love how their lineup shapes up, and I
Mhm.
love how their pitching is shaping up right now. They're catching the Royals at the right time because
Mhm.
the Royals, at one point, if we were talking about this a few
Right.
weeks ago, were the team that was knocking on the door of the wild card.
Right.
That is not that team anymore. They are 6 games out of the wild card right now in the American League. And I think if the Mariners can come in and take that series, then they're just going to be super motivated to play the Astros. And if they take a majority or even sweep the Astros, then you're they're in the back door. They're in the back window. So I really, really like the Mariners as a team. I just love how they seem to be coming together. Um, I am shocked and flabbergasted like everybody else about the consistency of Cal Raleigh season, right? Like he, we're always waiting for the bubble to burst, but it doesn't. Guess
Mhm.
what? If the Cal Raleigh bubble bursts now, it doesn't matter. The man has 54 home runs. Right? So it's like if he doesn't hit another home run for the entire which I'm sure
That
he will, but he's already had he's just
the
done all
right
that he can
season.
do, which is fantastic. He deserves a slump. That's how good he's been playing. Um, I love Randy in that lineup. I love what
Me
Julio
too.
Rodriguez J Rod is starting to put together, and
Mhm.
obviously JP Crawford is really, if
Right.
you've been paying close attention, JP Crawford is really starting to heat up now. So they
Right.
are, I think they're the most dangerous team of all the teams. Like if I'm looking at who can really catch lightning in a bottle and be difficult, Brian Rue had a career high 13 strikeouts the other night. Not to mention Logan Gilbert. Like they've got, I think the Mariners have all the tools. I do think that they have the ability to win the division. It's that Astros series is going to be really big.
Mhm.
Um, and I full disclosure, I've said it before. They're like my extra inning league pass team out of market that I love to watch play. So I'll be excited about it. I do think again we're at the point now where both the Royals and the Rays have just played themselves out of the wild card in my mind, unless
Oh
something
yeah.
really crazy happens. The Royals are 6 games back. The Rays are 7.5 games back. At one point, the Rays were only 2 games back of the wild card, like recently.
Right. Yes.
Um, The Rangers are still intriguing. I don't know if they have the ability to do it. And now in the Guardians, again, another team that at the trade deadline we didn't think was going to do anything, or 2.5 games back. Where do you think? And I don't. Full disclosure, I don't watch the Rangers that much this season, especially Marcus Simeon's out for the season.
Right.
So as it currently constructed, most of their games they have no African American players in the lineup.
Dang.
What do we think the Rangers have the ability to overcome their kind of deficit and even maybe take the division? Garcia's been great since he's been back. I have seen that. Aroldis Garcia has been phenomenal since he's been back.
He's been fantastic.
Right.
I think that it's cute. However, it's going to be a no for me.
Cute.
And listen, y'all know I like the Rangers. I got a little soft spot for them. But no, and I'm especially looking at this postseason picture of who and where each of the teams are, with the Blue Jays at 1 right now, the Tigers at 2, Seattle at 3, Yankees 4, Red Sox 5, Houston at 6. Anything is possible, but it's not something that is in the back of my mind where I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're an open threat. I think that they are a threat to frighten some teams, make them play a little harder, but not to the point of knocking someone out in that way.
Right. Right now, I completely understand. So that's right now and how it sets up. That's how the AL wildcard situation in that AL West, it's just super, super close division, just sets up. Before we kind of put a bed to any of these divisions and change subjects completely, we do often talk about the NL West. It seems like April, the waters have calmed quite a bit in the NL West. And what I mean by that is the Dodgers 2.5 games, a whopping 2.5 games over the Padres. But to me, it feels like a lot more.
Yeah. And remember, I told y'all we were getting players back, so we were getting healthy. And what's interesting is Max Muncy comes back, and I told y'all he's like that wild card factor within our lineup. And then he gets hit in the head with a pitch, and he's out. So according to Dave Roberts, he's more than likely going to play like at least 1 game in this next series against the Phillies. But the Phillies do not have Trey Turner in their lineup for this series as well. So we'll see exactly how this goes. But we did get Tommy Edman back. He played center field yesterday. Michael Conforto had 3 hits, child. He's batting over 200, and I was like, he was batting people's weight before that, y'all. Mm-hmm. So we saw some victories going on, and then Mookie Betts was like NL Player of the Week. So yes,
he was. And Betts has really started to come on.
Yes, and with the Mookie Betts thing, I also want to add, we have to remember he had lost someone significantly close to him. His hand, he was still, that was not completely healed. And then the illness that he had at the beginning of the season. So we are seeing a healthier Mookie along with many of the other players who are returning. And we can't forget about that starting pitching rotation who's pitching like 1 point something right now. It's the
one pitcher that is pitching really well for y'all. Y'all aren't giving many run support. So if I was Yamamoto, I would boycott y'all.
Let me tell you something. I'm ready to boycott them for Yamamoto the way that they've been playing. And he's just such a team player. And I'm like, Yamamoto, get behind me. Get behind me. I got you, bro. Because the way that there's no run support. The relievers don't show up, and he has been just phenomenal. Because remember, he was my Cy Young pick for the year, but that ain't happening. But yeah, I think that again, the Dodgers becoming healthy and the players actually getting into a rhythm benefits them right now. Meanwhile, you have for the Padres, Xander Bogaerts is out for the year.
Yeah, that's a blow.
Yes, that's a huge blow for them. The Giants, they have their players, but You have to show up every game all the time, and they have a pretty tough schedule as well. So it's all about who decides to show up at the right time and have a consistent piece and so forth. So we'll see.
I know people are going to say, "Oh man, the Dodgers got it easy. They got Shohei." But if they win the championship with Michael Conforto on their team, all
Listen,
the respect in the world, bro. I can't even say nothing about that because they stuck with that dude for a long time over the
Yep.
summer, and it was pretty ineffective. So props to them.
I
Yeah,
know
I mean,
I've been saying I need y'all to believe in me the way that Dave Roberts believes in Michael Conforto, because when
Facts.
I say that man has not given up on him, he has not given up on him one bit.
yeah, no, I mean, look, I think April, you hit on the head in the sense of it seems as if in certain, especially if you're looking at Mookie Betts and the way he's starting to play, and some of the other guys on the team, it seems like the Dodgers are turning it on, getting healthy, getting in the right position. I think there was a couple of, yeah, yeah, Kershaw's pitching pretty,
Hmm.
in the lineup pretty consistently. Glasnow's gotten starts now,
Hmm.
so it just starts to seem like this team was built for this time of year, right?
Hmm.
They were like, if we can just get through the regular season, which
Right.
again, I take that back too, because Flobo, if you remember when we were going into the Tokyo series, all of us were talking about like, when will the Dodgers lose a game? Like
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
like, they're gonna go 162-0 and run away with. But like reality has been, this team is like almost bored with the regular season. Let's work as many games as we possibly can, maintaining a lead in the division, and see if we can get healthy at the right time, and then catch lightning in a bottle. I think that has to be the Dodgers playing, right?
Yeah, and I also wonder, and maybe I'm thinking too far outside the box. Do they want to win the division? Probably. But do they want that 1 or 2 seed? I don't know if they want that 1 or 2 seed, especially with what comes with the 1 or 2 seed.
Yeah, I don't know, Flobo. At this point, given that they're still trying to get right and play well, I just
yeah.
don't think they have the ability to kind of pick and choose where they end up in the playoffs.
Yeah, unless you mean the layoff that the 1 and 2 seed gets. I don't know. I feel like, and I don't think this gets talked about enough. I think that Dave Roberts should get like an award because he's kind of cracked the code of how to keep a team warm with the layoff, especially
Listen,
juggling those injuries. So I think that might actually help them out having the extra couple of days in their case. You know?
Yeah, that's a good question about Dave Roberts too, because I mean, obviously he's doing the job that he does well. He's like, he is making the best out of the situation that he has and the players that are presented to him. But with that said, can we really say like again, this team was supposed to be like, Thanos coming in and killing everybody, and you look at it and they're 2.5 games up over the Padres. I mean, not necessarily Dave Roberts' fault, but we can't look at that and give him manager of the year, right? Not when there's other team, like, you know what I mean, teams really overachieving or playing really well, right?
that is a thing that has been happening over the past few years. And if you ask me, I thought last year or the year before, he definitely should have gotten it with the teams that he was able to push towards the playoffs. And especially last year, oh, absolutely.
No, I'm saying,
Absolutely.
like, I understand what you're saying, but like the Milwaukee Brewers are in the National League. If there is no way you're not
Uh,
giving that guy
maybe,
manager of the year over, you know what I mean? They have
maybe.
91 wins right now.
No, but okay. So yes, if I was giving out awards, yes, Pat Murphy wins it again. But I think him winning it last year was like I thought the rationale of manager of the year is the expectations going into the season and the actual expectations after the season. The biggest jump usually gets the vote. So that way, I wouldn't say not to say he doesn't deserve it. I feel like a team like the Marlins, for example, would probably be more in tune to get one because no one pretty much wrote them off at all, and now
Right.
they're like fourth place in the division or third place, excuse me.
Right. And I was
So
gonna say too, I don't think that I think that Dave doesn't win because people expect the Dodgers to do this.
yeah,
So
but
he's never
I,
gonna get
here's the thing.
that
I
level
think
of
people
recognition.
expect the Brewers to be decent. I don't think they thought they were going to be the best team in baseball by, you know, pretty much all season in many ways. So yeah, it's a good question to have. We're gonna
Mhm.
stop there because we are gonna shift gears here and talk about a few things on the way out the door. Um, it has been before I go into a complete shift gear topic, I do again. Our partners, our sponsors, the Players Alliance, Rebellion Harvest, Sunflower Seeds, number game scorecards, and minority prospects. Thank you. Please support them. Use the access code Black Baseball Mixtape spelled out. Last week was an interesting week in baseball, but it's also an interesting week, kind of largely socially in how we do this. I have been on wax, if you will, talking about certain teams visiting the White House. This is different because last week, in commemoration with 9/11, the President of the United States visited the Yankees and visited the Yankee locker room. There has been much to do, Flobo, much to do about the Yankees greeting the President of the United States and taking a photo with him. And should players have used that time to be a little bit more combative, for lack of a better term, with the president, especially if they choose to disagree with him? Some of obviously the players, a lot of the players seem not to have a problem with it. They obviously took a picture of the president. Now, here's the question I have for you guys, because I know where we are and I know what this setting is. Do you consider this different? The president coming to your locker room in New York City on 9/11 to commemorate the 9/11 24th year anniversary of 9/11. Do you consider that different than a player actively going to the White House? And should it be kind of judged differently? Because obviously Aaron Judge is seen shaking the president's hand and taking pictures of him. And we gave our community, especially the Black baseball community, gave, let's say, the Mookies of the world a lot of trouble when he went to the White House and shook the president's hand and stood with his team there. So should these two incidents be treated differently given the circumstance? Yeah, you're first.
I'm going to say yes. Look, we had this discussion when Mookie Betts and the Los Angeles Dodgers, because Mookie was the one that got pretty much most of the thick pieces on, and I said meeting the president was always political. It's always a political move for an athlete to meet the president of the United States. But I would say recently, over the past 8 to 12 years, maybe even 4 years, it's become a partisan one. So if you're seen with the president, it's seen as endorsing ideals that muddies the waters a bit. And so, while I would not give Mookie flack, I understood if someone said, "Hey, look, I have photo evidence of you shaking a hand." I may not agree with politically or personally. There was some context in the Yankee situation because it was 9/11, but the Yankees also gave a tribute to Charlie Kirk the same day or day before. And so there was some kind of understanding of what the Yankees were supporting. And so that kind of added, again, a partisan slant to things. But I think if you're at your job and someone comes over, you have to treat them with basic respect as if there's a regular person seeing you at work. You can do the whole like, hey, what up, and go back to what you're doing. It isn't the same as you getting on a plane and walking on the street and saying, hey, president, I know I'm going to get my plaque. I'm going to get my little medal and I'm going to shake your hand. This was supposed to be, and I am saying this as a New Yorker, almost a sacred day, almost a solemn day about over the 6,000 Americans who died. It has been reduced to a pep rally in the Bronx. But on paper, if I was on that roster and the president was going to be there, not knowing who the president was in this case, I should say, yes, please come. It should be treated as differently because the circumstances were different. I didn't achieve anything. We're remembering what happened in that fateful day.
I understand. April. I'll share my 2 cents afterwards. But April, do you think it should have been judged differently than, say, the Dodgers when they went to the White House?
No. I believe that meeting the president is just that, meeting the president. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. And we have to be aware of what that looks like whenever we move goalposts and decide, well, it was under this circumstance, or this happened, or this. And this is why I stated before, we have to decide, like, do we want politics in sports? Do we not want politics in sports? Do we want to make sure or ensure that we are respecting the office at a particular level? Are we going to grant, like, how do we look at these particular things? And this was also why I asked the question of um how do we want athletes participating in these particular political discussions, because people view things differently. Like, I'm a history teacher, I view things in a completely different way than most people because I teach it. But if somebody's meeting the president, I don't think it really matters under the circumstances of what they're meeting them for. If they're meeting them because they won a World Series, a Super Bowl, they went to they saw them down the street or whatever. To me, it all is the same. And we can't decide to move the goalposts because it's a player or a team or what have you. So, but again, how we define that individually is also important in how we choose to view that.
I'm very glad that we have three different kind of three different kind of
Perception.
views on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very glad of that, and I'm glad because I do think it's important that everybody shows diversity in thought, and
Yes.
these are obviously three well-educated people and baseball fans and people that follow cultural issues and society
Mm-hmm.
issues very closely. I do, in my mind, I can only, and nobody's wrong, by the way.
Right.
Flobo, you're not wrong. April, you're not wrong. There's nobody wrong. I do feel like the circumstances are different. And I do feel as if the, and what I mean by that is, I feel like actively going to the White House to participate in a celebration with with your World Series is something that it always kind of feels optional. Maybe it wasn't optional before this climate that we're in, but I know ever since President
Mm-hmm.
Obama was elected, it kind of feels optional.
Right.
If you wanted to voice your opinion or on a political issue or take a stance or say something, you kind of knew if you didn't go or if you went, it was going to be a certain reaction. It's not something that is kind of impromptu per se. And I do think if it's a team celebration at the White House, you not going um, is viewed kind of in a certain way that is more aligned with like activism, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel in my heart of hearts that is different than you going to like showing up to work to play a baseball game. And you know what day it is. You know where obviously the 9/11 tragedy took place. And the president of the United States coming to your workplace to commemorate, like you said, Flobo, the fallen victims of this day.
Yes.
In some ways, and again, this is could be a jump, and I know people could say whatever they want to say. In some ways, not kind of actively participating in that could be viewed as an affront to the victims of the
Yes.
day and
I agree.
not necessarily just the president.
Mm-hmm.
So even if somebody, which no one did on the Yankees at this point that I know of, but even if someone had a very respectful and smart way of protesting, you would have heard this was the wrong day and the wrong climate because you're making it about yourself as about the victims of, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
of the tragedy of 9/11. Now, with that said, you could have, whether he was getting treatment or he chose not to be there, you could have pulled a Stanton and just not happen to be around for the picture, right? You could have even pulled a Jazz where you're in the back of the picture where you barely don't even know he's in the picture. Um, or you know what I mean, you could do what some of the other guys did. Um, but I do feel like the circumstances of 9/11 and the president coming to Yankee Stadium and all that was kind of wrapped into that. To me, it felt much harder to quote unquote put your kind of personal feelings and your personal agenda about this administration into that day and that commemoration. Um, and so I'm less kind of fired up, if you will, as I would of any team and any player choosing to celebrate your championship at the invitation of the White House of the president of the United States currently constructed. Um, with that said, there is an interesting development that had happened. You mentioned it as well with the kind of assassination of Charlie Kirk, right? And how sports teams, because it wasn't just the Yankees on that
Mhm.
day, it was the Green Bay Packers, and then over the weekend, the NFL had teams
Right.
choose who wanted to do a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk versus who didn't, and it was one of those things where I do find that part of it very fascinating and very interesting and very telling in some ways, because a lot of folks don't realize now, 24 years later, but it was after 9/11 that you really did see the stopping
Mm,
of a game to recognize
yes.
veterans. You didn't have any of that stuff
Mhm.
before 9/11 happened. But after 9/11, you had, stopping of the game to, honor the veteran of the day and other certain
Mhm.
things like the big unfurling of flags. All like 9/11 was kind of might not have necessarily been the intended consequence, but one of the unintended consequences is they draped patriotism into sports.
Mhm.
And they've continued to do it and they've maintained it. And then obviously you get into a place where if you're disrespecting, you know,
Mhm.
you're not. It's not about sports anymore. Now you're just disrespecting the country if you
Mhm.
choose to do something differently. Where uh, that's challenging because I just don't know if we're ever going to be able to put that toothpaste back in the tube, if you will. Funny thing did happen over the weekend as well, and I didn't fully notice this until it did come up in these types of conversations. There's huge for people that follow boxing, huge boxing match, Crawford Canelo, on Saturday night in Vegas. They did not do the national anthem at all.
Oh,
They didn't do the Mexican national anthem, they didn't do the American national anthem, they did not do a national anthem at all prior to this mega fight. Traditionally, in a professional boxing match, you would
right.
not only do the American national anthem, but you would do the anthem of the origin of the
The
fighters.
country. Right.
They have not said officially why this took place. There was some talk about it was running late. It was running late. They wanted to get the fighters in the ring, blah, blah, blah. All of that is true. One of the other things that I also think is true is that boxing match was promoted by Saudi Arabia, and it's a Turkey Al Sheikh,
Mm.
who is the biggest promoter in boxing now, and he's done some great things for boxing. But this was a Riyadh season boxing match. I say all that to say there's no scenario that they play the national anthem of Mexico for Canelo and the United States
Mhm.
without playing the Saudi Arabian national anthem in
Right.
Vegas for the kingdom and Turkey Al Sheikh and so forth. I think there's a part of me that feels that they were so concerned about the American reaction to that national anthem that they just scrapped the whole thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. I have never heard of this, but for as long as it's been sport, there's always been politics to it. I mean, breakaway clubs in soccer in England, the Munich games, I mean, that's just always what it is. And so I say politics and sport washing and all these other things that come from that, not to make this a bigger topic than it is, are so intrinsically linked because we do things as a pastime. It's almost easy to sweep things that you want to, any kind of agenda you have, under the rug.
Right.
And I say that as a wrestling fan, WrestleMania is going to Saudi Arabia in 2 years. Like it's a different kind of time and in there. So I
Mhm.
almost I was a person who would say get my politics out of sport. I'd be the first one to say that. But now there's so many sides to be on. I can't fault anyone for saying this is the side that I'm on anymore because it's just so many things are coming at you nowadays. But the Canelo fight was a new development for me for sure.
With
That
that said,
shocked me.
with that said, I will say that I agree with what you're saying, Flobo, to an extent. I fully disagree, and I'll be on the record and say what you will about about me on this. I fully disagree with the moment of silence for Charlie Kirk in any sporting arena. In
Sure.
any sporting arena, because if you're not going to do it for Trayvon Martin, and you're not going to do it for Mike Brown, and you're not going to do it for Sandra Bland, and you're not going to do it for any American that you could wrap politics around in that way, if you're not going to do it for those folks that a lot of them did, they weren't organizers like Charlie Kirk, they were victims, and Charlie Kirk is a victim as well. But if you're not going to do it for the victims of Sandy Hook, and you're not going to do it for the Minnesota, you know what I mean? If you can't, to me, if you're going to do it in sports, I think it has to be at a level where it's not going to be that level of polarization. And so, so for example, you don't want anything bad to happen to anyone in
Right.
that sense. But if Louis Farrakhan is assassinated tomorrow, do you think the Yankees are going to have a moment of silence? So I just that's what kind of strikes me, and I just think that this particular reaction, especially in sports, is a direct reaction and direct response to this administration in this White House. I don't think this happens if it was President Biden or President Obama. And some people may look at that and be like, "You're damn right," and that's a good. I just don't. I think this administration allows these types of things to happen across the board, and sports responds in kind. But I do think that this one was a Brit 9/11, not too far. That Charlie Kirk thing, I do think was inappropriate.
I do think we're in agreement, not so much of whether or not. I mean, I'm with you. I'll say it on the record. I'm with
No,
you.
no, I just
But
think for this
no,
this
no.
individual, I think
But
it's
what I'm saying is, I guess the point I was making was like people looking for their local sports who have a say on something was something that before you can't say, oh, keep politics out of sports, because now we have theme nights for certain things and we
yeah.
do these giveaways for certain things, and some things are great, some things are not so great. And so when people are saying, look, my hero, if you are believing a hero passed away, how come we haven't done that? Then it
Mhm.
becomes an issue. Like, would you
Right.
consider a hero? Would you consider someone who's a martyr and who isn't? But I'm with you. I was a bit shell shocked about seeing how many teams decided that this individual deserves to be worthy of a moment of silence based on what he's done. But at the same time, I do think now more than ever, whether you are right side of the aisle or the left side of the aisle, we're looking at teams going like, "How come you haven't said anything,
Well,
Milwaukee
that's the
Brewers?"
thing.
Like, you know.
That's the thing. I'm gonna see what happens in the future, because now you've opened this level of
Mhm.
um, memorialism, if you will. You've opened this level to folks that obviously aren't elected officials nationally. Like
Mhm.
this is a popular person that has organized a lot of people and college students and so forth. There's a lot of those. There, I mean, maybe not as effective in this administration, but now it's like Stacey Abrams in Georgia. Again, I don't want anything to happen to anyone, but Stacey Abrams in Georgia is a well-known organizer. If something happens to her, is it appropriate for? I'm not talking even about the Braves. Is it appropriate for Los Angeles Dodgers to do a moment of silence for Stacey Abrams? Because guess what? If they don't now, or any person, there should be uproar, because you set, you know what I mean? You set the precedent now in April.
I was going to say too that we are living in a time in a society where everyone is looking for confirmation bias.
Yeah.
You want people to affirm your personal beliefs, regardless of what side of the fence you're on. And people, because everybody loves sports, that has become the factor to which people are looking for their personal beliefs to be affirmed. And it's right before I came on, I told you I was studying, and that was something that was discussed. It was talking about how over time, historically, we see changes occur. And these changes happen within like every 20, 25 years. you'll see some things happen within history, within Congress, where they tend to make these moves where you don't maybe need that level of confirmation from a certain branch or from something else, or they expand a certain power in a certain way. And I think that that actually applies to this as well, not to get too
Yeah.
nerdy, but but in saying that, I do think that it's important for us to realize exactly what that means. And for you, as someone who may be involved politically, or maybe you're not, because today I talked about propaganda and how that is used in many instances as well. It's just being sure that how things come across to people, uh how it's done. Because again, once you open that door, it's very hard for you to be able to close it. And based on history, it's going to continue down that road until something else transformational happens. And then the next 20 to 30 years will follow that. So that is what something that absolutely caught my attention in regards to this. And I am interested to see exactly how they are going to move forward with this. And I too, like, I don't want nobody to lose their life over anything, because families have to live with that. But we do have to realize how sports is intertwined with politics, and whether we realize it or not, like, it just is. That is life. Life is our lives every single day are intertwined with this. But I will say that it is up to us to ensure that we are educating ourselves on exactly what that looks like for us best.
Well, I appreciate all of your views on this. I thought it was really important to bring it up and have a quick discussion about it. There is a larger discussion that is taking place all around the country,
Right.
and the Black Baseball Mixtape podcast is not immune to that. Today, just today, probably around 6 p.m., I uploaded our latest podcast episode, and it features Kamal Carter and Kyle Williams. They are the founders and operators of um, a long talk about the uncomfortable truth. And what they do is they go around um, working with sports teams, mostly on college campuses, and having starting their, I believe it's like a 21-week intensive course that these programs can choose, these athletic programs can choose to engage in. And it talks a lot about obviously combating racism within their athletic department and their teams, sexism, misogyny, a whole bunch of things. And it is a fantastic, I would call it the most important conversation I've ever had on the Black Baseball Mixtape podcast. That is out now. You'll see more video clips as it goes, but these are the types of things that have to happen, especially in the world of sports, or else we kind of run the risk of not addressing them in sports. And oftentimes that inactivity leads to problems, even more problems down the road in society. Because let's just be real, a lot of young people, their first real kind of experience in being on a team and working collaborative and learning how to learning what group norms are and learning how to treat people are on sports teams. They
Right.
are, whether it's in little league or in their high school, or there's those kind of the first interactions they get on what's acceptable and what's not. And if we allow in certain settings the culture of sports to be um, corroded and ignored and so forth, without doing our best to make it a better place, then we suffer the consequences of that. So we will move on to our final segment before we get you guys out of here. I really, again, appreciate our sponsors. Make sure you check out the Players Alliance, Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds, Numbers Game Scorecards, and of course, minority prospects across the board. Flobo Voice, my guy,
What's up?
what is the latest with your amazing podcast in the booth?
Yes, sir.
And let us know what the latest is, and let us know if there's anything you want to close us out with that is baseball related.
Yeah, absolutely. In the booth, new episode come out to you next Monday. The YouTube archives are coming up one by one. Make sure you go over to the Black Baseball Mixtape channel, like, comment, subscribe. Like, oh man, we want some more in the booth episodes. Everything you do can help with that. And of course, as playoffs roll in, I'll be crossing both my fingers and toes for the New York Mets. But at the same time, justasandwich.com will be giving you a bit of the comedic take of what's happening. justasandwich.com is a sports blog. I write it every week-ish, give or take, 80 weeks in a row, and I'm still going with it. So that's what I'm working on right now.
That a boy. April, 10th inning talk. I know you have some exciting news. I don't know if you want to break it here, but there's a lot going on with 10th inning talk. And if there is anything baseball related you wanted to end up with.
Yes, first off, I want to tell you if you are not already following me, of course, on my podcast, make sure you do that. Also follow me on YouTube and TikTok because I have some fun stuff going on over there, especially on TikTok where you can actually vote and participate in many of the polls that I have daily because I'm now back in a routine. But I will go on ahead and break the news because I am super excited about it.
Whoa!
Yes, so breaking news. I will be interviewing Natola. Is her last name you? Natola this Thursday. So that podcast episode will be premiering next Wednesday. And she is the first Black woman umpire in Division 1 baseball. So I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm totally fangirling about it. This is me doing my normal face, but whenever the camera goes off, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I already have my questions ready. Whenever Chief emailed me, I actually wasn't having the best day, so that totally lightened up my mood, and we were able to get it scheduled and on the books. And I mean, I have some great questions. So if y'all have some questions that you would like for me to ask as well, shoot me a DM. But things are going great in the 10th inning. And I am happy to be able to share just wonderful things with y'all regarding sports that I love.
Clap it up. Let's
That's
go.
exciting stuff. So 10th inning talk. Be sure to be on the lookout for it. Follow it on all platforms. I kind of teased this, and I thought we were going to do a segment on it. We did not, but I will close it out with this. Kyle Riley, 54 home runs. Cal Schwarber, 52 home runs. Shohei Ohtani, 49 home runs. Aaron Judge, 48 home runs. Eugenio Suarez, 45 home runs. Junior Caminero, 44 home runs. Juan Soto, 40 home runs. Is the long ball back? Because clearly this year so far, and these are all numbers and counting. These are all numbers and counting. Is the long ball back in a way that it hasn't been in a while? And quickly, I'll just throw it out there. Do you think these numbers are making new fans, making people pay attention to the game of baseball strictly based on like kind of home run totals?
Juice balls are back. I think MLB is Savannah bananing by making sure there are more entertainment options at games, and that's why the people are going, not just the home runs. So to answer your questions, yes, more bombs are great. I don't think it's the same kind of thing how it was in the 90s where it was like Sosa versus McGuire.
I think anytime home runs happen, that they are exciting, but I don't think that that is a major reason why people are tuning in. I think that a lot of the rule changes that have occurred have attracted more people to the game because they don't see it as slow as it was has been perceived. But yeah, this edition where you get to hear of a Cal Riley doing this or a Juan Soto doing this, and not just a Shohei Ohtani or a Kyle Schwarber who literally just hit another home run, by the way.
Is it
So
53? Did he hit 53?
yeah, he just hit a
Okay.
home run. So I think that it's very exciting, but I have to agree. I do think that they're going home with the balls. And then, of course, they had the whole torpedo bat thing earlier this season. But that's my take on that.
Yeah. So I think for us paying attention, Cal Riley and Cal Schwarber are amazing stories for the people that are paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any person that doesn't pay attention to baseball that would come up to you and be like, "Oh man, I wasn't really paying attention, but I'm going to watch Kyle Schwarber hit." Like that doesn't happen right now. That did happen with McGuire and Sosa, right? That did it captivated so much of the non-baseball world that, they were chasing history and these guys and the differences and all that. Which is because, again, I guess there was a part of us with those guys that they were kind of superstar.
Yes, that's what I
They
was
had
gonna
a
say.
superstar aura around them prior
Yes.
to them doing the run that they did.
Yes.
Neither one of these guys, Kyle Schwarber and Cal Raleigh, especially Cal Raleigh, but even as good as a player as Cal Schwarber is, they weren't household names.
Right.
Had this been if Shohei Ohtani's at 54 and Aaron Judge is at 53 and they're chasing down history, I do think it has a difference to be viewed differently, if you will.
Absolutely.
And again, no one, I don't think Eugenio Suarez is not a household name. Junior Caminero is definitely not a household name.
Right. That was a shocker to me.
And so I just, for baseball fans that are watching, I hope you are excited. I hope you're excited about Joe Adell's 36 home runs. I hope you're excited about James Wood's 27 home runs.
Yes.
But I think more people are hitting the long ball, which is exciting in that sense. I don't think that it is pulling in these particular names at the top of the list are pulling in any additional commentary, if you will. Like even the talking head shows that talk about baseball, they'll talk about Kyle Raleigh and they'll talk about Schwarber in the context of them hitting a home run in the highlights. But there's not segments dedicated to Kyle Raleigh, Kyle Schwarber, where I think it would be, believe it or not, in just, I think if it was Shohei and Judge, coming in, even if Shohei and Judge both catch fire and they pass these two guys, it's just going to be more exciting because the markets they play in, the teams they play on, and it's what do you say it in the biz, Flobo? Low hanging fruit for
right
segment 3C on first take, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of it has to the fact that they're not new. If they were rookies doing this, it would be a big deal. But a lot of these guys are already established, so it's kind of like a low wattage situation. And you could argue that there aren't many aces to go around on the pitching side of things, and with the disengagement rules that allow pitches have to be made a certain time, the pitch clock. So all that's kind of feeding into it. But you're right, we're kind of missing either that young hot shot or that OG can do it every year person for it to be a real conversation.
Nick Kurtz has 32 home runs. Nick Kurtz is a rookie.
Right.
32 home runs in the
on what team though? What team is he on?
Exactly. He's on the Athletics.
Let me also add that I believe that who Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire, who the record that they were actually breaking also played a role in why so many people were tuned in to. Yes, I know Barry was that guy because he's my guy, but Barry was that guy. But the records that they were breaking were of people who were completely untouchable for a long period of time. And the fact that they were even in the vicinity to be able to break those records shocked most of the world that it could possibly happen. And I think that sort of changed how and why people were willing to tune in, whereas right now it's more of an individual accomplishment, even though it may help your team, versus this being such a mobilizing factor that could change history forever. I think that's why that also has a different feel to it today.
Sure. No, absolutely. I believe, and definitely in the case of McGwire and Sosa, when you're chasing down Lou Gehrig and those guys like that, Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, it's just different, right? It's just different. But it's definitely an interesting chase, and we'll see how this thing plays out. On the way out, guys, this has been fantastic. On the way out, I will say shout out. We will talk about this as the season progresses. We do have time. Shout out to Lawrence Butler, Mookie Betts. Who am I missing? Bo Naylor, and JP Crawford. Those guys, and along with all the other team representatives, were named their team representative for the Roberto Clemente Award. So the Roberto Clemente Award, the most prestigious award, individual award in Major League Baseball for actions on the field, but mostly off the field, is their conservative. This is the community service ambassador of the league award. It was won last year by Aaron Judge. Fun fact: Aaron Judge is not even nominated this year. Carlos Rodon is from the Yankees. But in order for you to kind of win the award for your team and be eligible for the fan vote and all the others that come into the play, is you've got to be a real pillar, if you will, on your team and your community. The fact that Lawrence Butler is the nomination for the Athletics, I think, is a testament to him and all the community service and give back that he has done. Same with everyone else. But Law being such a young player, that is fantastic. So we'll talk about that. You can vote till the end of the season. There was a fantastic Roberto Clemente documentary that's just recently been released as well. I have not seen it yet. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I've heard great things about it and a lot to learn about the man himself. With all of that, I will say I'm getting out of here. Finish your breakfast. Every day we recap the Black Baseball news. We've got a ton of podcasts dropping, a ton of podcasts, interviews that have taken place over the last week that'll be posted on the podcast feed as well. I will post this tomorrow, but shout out to our people, because I had mentioned I wanted one of those CC Sabathia
Whoa.
replica plaques, Hall of Fame plaques, and guess what came in? So to
What a
you,
chin. What is that?
Black Baseball Mixtape family, thank you as always. And we're getting out of here, man. Catch you next time.